From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
And good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce. This is Eye on Washington. It's the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you in Nevada. Today's topic, Nevada's very unfair share. Why does Nevada get so little back in federal spending? My guest today, Nevada U.S. Congressman Cresent is going to talk about that issue. Thanks for being here again.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Well, it's hardly a good rate of return. Nevada gets back just 65 cents for every dollar sent to the federal government. Today on Eye on Washington, we're going to discuss a report showing how little Nevada gets back from the feds compared to other states, and we'll ask my guest what needs to be done here on the Hill to pull Nevada out of this donor state status. Last fall, Eye on Washington welcomed Brookings scholar Dr. John Hudak to the program. Dr. Hudak's a nationally recognized expert on the distribution of federal dollars. He was on the show to discuss Nevada's decade-long dismal national ranking for return on taxes paid to the government, and to give his thoughts on why Nevada just can't seem to get out of the federal funding cellar. According to Brookings, Nevada has been at or near the bottom of the heap for federal grant dollars for more than 10 years. That means Nevada is leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. That's unclaimed funding that could be going to Nevada's health, education, transportation, public services, and other starved programs and projects. Well, Congressman Harvey ran for office, and he listed one of 7 priorities. One of those on his campaign site was, quote, the Nevada as donor state, addressing this very issue of you're getting so very little back for what you're paying in. And Congressman, you listed 7 issues of uppermost priority, and one was this huge concern that Nevada pays more into the Fed than it receives in services. So tell our statewide audience what it means to Nevada to consistently, year in, year out, get so much less back than it's paying in.
What it means is that we're losing money. We need to have a fair basis with all other states. We're paying in a certain amount of dollars to the federal government, and we're only getting 65 cents out of every dollar back. Is that efficiency? I would say by any cause that is a horrible efficiency. So my job as a legislator is to come back here and try to develop those relationships with other of my colleagues and people across the nation to try to help them understand that Nevada needs the same dollars that they are getting, which this is kind of a competition, I believe, back here. I'm still trying to get my feet wet and understand the whole makeup of D.C., because it is an interesting process, but that's my obligation as a legislator, to try to get every dollar back I can.
You know, you said regarding this issue, quote, following up on what you just said, you said, I will fight to get more of our money back. Nevada's been a donor state for too long. What's the game plan? Well,
my real game plan is probably a little different than most. I would like to see the money stay in Nevada. Why are we going, sending money out to the federal government to turn and distribute back? There are distributions that are necessary for our state, whether it be in the defense or federal highways and other. But a lot of the dollars, I think Washington, D.C. has a spending problem. It doesn't have a taxing problem, it has a spending problem. We spend more than we take in. We have to live within those means. But on the other hand, we need to make sure that I'll do everything that I can to find those areas where we can get money back home to our state.
You know, when you couple Nevada's low ranking with the pummeling that Nevada has received from the recession these 7 years, it's really that much more serious, isn't it, being a donor state, when you think about the loss to essential services like education, transportation, infrastructure, healthcare, and so much more. They're not getting that the federal grant help that rightfully belongs to the states. Isn't that correct?
That's my belief, that we have never been on an equal basis with all other states. Nevada has always been one of the lowest, and matter of fact, the West has been the lowest in the nation for getting dollars back for education system. I think that's a direct reflection of we have the least amount of delegation population.
You know, I read in a piece in the Las Vegas Sun by Dr. John Hudak, who was on my show last fall, and he wrote this back in 2013, and he writes that Nevada's ranked at or near the bottom of the heap since 1986. So again, you know, when you listed in that one of your very big priorities when you ran was changing this donor state status. What were some of your thoughts as you were running, and what are your initial thoughts as you start your career, well, your couple years here on the Hill?
Well, I think I've surrounded myself with a good staff that can identify areas that where we are maybe lacking. To tell you that I have all the statistics of where each dollar comes from, I couldn't answer that question with any expertise. I do also want to educate our legislators to make sure that our state is doing all it can to make sure that they're going after the appropriate grants and then I can help move those grants forward along with the rest of our delegation.
Okay, when we return, just how much is Nevada leaving on the table and which areas are showing the greatest funding deficits? We're going to find out right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Boyd Gaming, Rogich Communications Group, and by Jim Marsh Automotive.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
Well, welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of how little Nevada is getting back from the taxes that you're sending to Washington, D.C. My guest today is Nevada U.S. Congressman Cresent Hardy. Well, last fall, an extensive study by Reno-based Strategic Progress revealed just how much Nevada is losing each year in unclaimed federal dollars. According to the report, in 2012, the state's weakest funding areas were within health and human services, education, and housing and urban development. Hear this, had Nevada received the same per capita amount of federal grant funding as its regional neighbors, the state would have received an additional $529 million. So let's break it down. Health and human services. Compared to the average funding of other western states, Nevada should have required another $205 million for children and families. Education. $152 million missed out on. Transportation, $114 million left on the table. And Congressman, the analysis excludes Medicaid, of course, which would have made figures much higher. But the upshot is the report concludes, get this, in 2012, Nevada left behind an estimated $1.5 billion with a B dollars. What are your thoughts?
I think we need to do a better job at locating those dollars and bringing them back home, and having our delegation out here help bring those dollars back home.
Why do you think this is happening? You know, during my show last fall with Dr. Hudak, we were told that states do well tend to have these three traits: low personal income, large federal land holdings, and abundant natural resources. Now, Nevada doesn't fit this. But what other reasons are there for Nevada leaving all that money on the table and to go to other states, which are happy to get it, I'm sure?
Well, I'm sure this is not the topic you wanted to talk about, but you just brought up an issue there. Nevada, 86% of our land is held by the federal government. You know, we go back in history, all other states were given back their land, or they're sold back, so they have that tax base to help support them, which gives them that the collateral to help fund education. And so sometimes, in most cases, you have to have a certain amount of matching dollars. So if we can't come up with the dollars, you can't get the matching dollar.
How about state agencies? How hard are they fighting? Are they aggressive enough in pursuing federal money?
You know, I believe that the states, from all entities that I've worked with, I believe are working as hard as they can to get those federal dollars back. Maybe there's a deficiency on the fact that we have maybe not the expertise in certain areas, but I think we need to solve that problem. But I think that what I just brought up there, getting our lands back so we can create that environmental, or that environment to where we have a tax base for properties. That's what Jackson said in 1828 on the equal footing doctrine, that all states should have access to their land so they can be on fair and equal footing with other states to be able to tax for education, infrastructure, and other. And that's where we're hurting all over the West.
Well, let's follow up on that. What are your plans regarding that here?
I know that during the state legislature in the last session that I was on a bill with others. It was a unanimous bill to help try to identify acreage that would be for immediate use to get us back for economic development. We never dreamed it'd be the amount of acres that they identified with the 17 counties, but they identified over 7.2 million acres that they would like, and so that's going to go through the legislature this time, and hopefully it'll come out here, and then I can help move that bill through to get those that acreage back. You
know, here's something to talk about. Nevada's a swing state. And generally, according to Dr. Hudak of Brookings, swing states do get back a lot from the feds because they're important states to politicians, but Nevada's not seeing that either.
That's an interesting comment. I don't know what the cause and effect of that is. I couldn't tell you.
Do you have other thoughts on how to solve things?
Less government in our lives. We need to be competitive with ourselves. The states, I think, are the best avenue to go with. Let's turn the power back to the states where it was originally given to us in the 10th Amendment. Let's
turn the power back to the states, but you are a federal guy and you do have some power here on the Hill. What are your thoughts on what your role is in helping Nevada get its fair share in grant funding?
My role is to help identify those areas where we're maybe lacking, but also work with those entities to make sure that when they have certain grants that they need to help try to move that dollar back through the appropriations process. We have one of our congressmen sitting on the appropes. I think we work very well together, and I think he can help us with moving those through that committee where needed. So.
Okay. When we return, how about a county-by-county look at federal return on investment? And if you think Big Clark County is getting the lion's share, you're in for a surprise. Details after this.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
I got my own iPod Touch and used my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
A family's presence in the hospital helps children heal faster and cope better. But children who need specialized medical care are often sent out of the Reno area for treatment. Costs can get unmanageable, and it can be difficult for families to accompany their sick child. The Travel for Treatment program, presented by Ronald McDonald House Charities Northern Nevada, gives parents travel assistance when a child's medical treatment is not available at a local hospital. Please contact us today for more information and to see how you can help. Donate online at rmhc-reno.org.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of how Nevada is trailing the nation in securing federal dollars. And my guest would like to change that. He is Nevada U.S. Congressman Cresent Hardy. Well, it must be nice to be in Alaska. It's the top spot for federal grant funding, $3,637 per capita. Nevada? $1,187 per capita. So we know Nevada trails the nation in securing federal dollars. Let's take it from the state to the counties. According to that study by Reno-based Strategic Progress, Carson City, far and away the federal grant champ, getting $19,667 per capita. So let's look at the Story County, last place, $255 per capita. Rounding out the top five, Mesquite, $4,861 per capita. Churchill with $1,900, $1,958. White Pine, $1,784. Washoe County, $1,664 per capita. And where is population-heavy Clark County? Number 12 out of 17, a paltry $772 back per capita. And that, you know, the Congress, the authors call it an uneven distribution that can't be explained by population. What do you say?
Well, I say that sometimes in the rural counties it takes a little more money to keep those counties afloat and moving ahead. So when you're in the larger cities, I think you're going to hit that lower number. But we need to do all we can to make sure we get those appropriations back.
Yeah,
by the way, Mesquite is in Clark County.
Oh, sorry. As I was reading that, I thought, wait a minute, that doesn't, I think we have a little problem here. You know, the authors say, too, that we need a better understanding of how federal funding that arrives in Carson City is distributed to the rest of the state and not being distributed too far, it seems, in some of the counties. What are your thoughts on? I think those numbers, if I'm not sure how they exactly work, but I think they probably move up and down based on needs from year to year too. So I'm not sure if that's over time that your statistics there, but I think they'll move around. Well, they're the most recent, but you know, let's look at just two of the two urban centers. Washoe has 16% of the state's population and gets 19% of federal grant expenditures. Clark has 71% of the state's population, and it's clearly underfunded. Do you have an opinion on the seeming north-south discrepancy? Maybe that the legislature needs to start looking at how we do things a little different in the state and how those appropriations come. I think we had some issues last time where we worked a little harder on getting more the funding directed to the south as needed. I think that's a constant ongoing battle that has to be done at the state level, though, to make sure where those funding dollars go. And at the end of the day, everybody has to agree that it's fair and balanced. Your District 4 has 7 counties, correct? One with a large population, most with pretty small ones. So mechanisms are in place in most states to ensure that federal dollars are allocated based on county populations and needs. But there are redistribution mechanisms for rural counties to ensure their stability and sustainability, correct?
That's correct.
So how do you balance that?
Well, you have to balance that. You know, sometimes it's a challenge to make sure that counties are efficient. The tax base in Clark County is probably a little higher than most other counties, so there's a level there that brings that to a point where people aren't recognizing the loss, I guess, that they have. But you also have to make sure that we have a large infrastructure out in the rural Nevada that gets us across the state, that takes a lot of money that never comes to the benefit of, I guess, the urban areas on either Washoe or Clark County. So,
when you ran for office, you listed this as one of your very top priorities. How come?
Because I believe it's we need to make sure things are taken care of at a equitable level, that we make sure that we return the dollars home for the benefit of the growth, where the growth is occurring.
Do you think Nevadans know how much is being left here, billions left on the table here, and that they'd be surprised and a little more demanding about it if they knew more?
Actually, I'm shocked and surprised through this process of running how much we were leaving on the table.
Well, maybe you'll help turn that around here. Maybe we'll follow up and do another show on it in several months and see what's happening.
I look forward to that opportunity.
Okay. When we return, it's time for our mailbag segment.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Help Nevada Humane Society save the lives of orphan kittens by becoming a foster care volunteer. Over 2,000 kittens a year need temporary care.
These kittens need food and personal attention until they're old enough for adoption. Foster care is fun, rewarding, and truly saves lives.
I love fostering. I have fostered almost 50 kittens so far, and it is so rewarding.
If you can foster kittens for a few weeks, we can find them homes for life. To learn how you can become a foster care volunteer, call or visit Nevada Humane Society.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
And we are back with our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington, and it is, of course, our mailbag segment. In this segment, we tell you about an issue our guest is receiving a lot of correspondence about. We read one of your letters on the air, and then we invite our guest to respond to you right here. Congressman, again, you haven't been here long, but you keep getting letters, and we have one from another very young Nevada Eye on Washington viewer or listener, little Brianna Kay of Reno. And she writes, "Dear Congressman, If there was one thing you could accomplish in your term for Nevada, what would it be? Kind of put you on the spot, didn't she?
You know, I think it's a great question, but I already know the answer to that question. It's really what has been my top priority. I want to have the best constituent services anywhere in the state, and I'd like to have the best anywhere in the nation. As you know, my district is probably one of the most diverse districts anywhere in the state for sure. We have major rural county populations, we have major urban populations, we have people that are really hurting, probably more so in my district than any other area. And so if I can help have the best constituent services to help people with their challenges they have, their communities provide a better environment for their citizens, I think that's my goal.
Let me ask you, when you represent Nevada's District 4, which probably in the nation is one of the largest congressional districts, how do you know, we hear often of congresspersons going on, quote, listening tours, etc. I know that from Friday through until you come back on Monday, oftentimes our senators and congressmen go back home to the district. How do you meet so many, first of all, so many diverse needs, and how do you kind of allocate your time to get several visits in with so many different counties and constituents?
You know, one of the most important people in our lives as legislators, I'm finding out, is our scheduler. They keep track of everything we do and how we do it, and your time is precious to you. From my standpoint, this is what I signed up for, is to work for the people of the state of Nevada and for this country. I look forward to it. Before I was even taken office, I spent time traveling around the district, meeting with communities and their leaders and others to try to see what their issues are, so I can hit the ground running. I will continue to do that. I look forward to that. I love Nevada. I love traveling the state. I think it's the greatest place in the world. And some of my staff that's had the opportunity to go out there and see what Nevada's like, they're just blown away with the diversity.
So to answer Brianna of Reno, your top goal is to try to meet the many diverse needs of every one of those constituents.
That is
right?
correct.
Yep.
And there is many of them.
You going to do it?
I can do it.
I believe you can, sir.
Thank
Thanks
you
for being here today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
And that is it for this week's Eye on Washington. Be sure to join us next time as we discuss more important federal matters and their impact on you in Nevada. Please visit joycecommunications.com or our Facebook page for more of the very latest from Capitol Hill that impacts your life in Nevada. You can follow me on Twitter at EyeOnWashMJ. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. Have a great day.